Hey everyone, it's Joe. I just got a new video camera. I'm extremely excited about it. It's quite freakishly high def though, so I don't know, it's like every pour shows and so forth. Anyway, I'm gonna make videos with more regularity now that I have a better video camera with good sound, high quality, a tripod, the whole shebang. Recently I've been watching a lot of videos by people who have either escaped Christianity or, well, in one case Scientology, but just a cult in general. I consider Christianity a cult. And maybe like a journey to atheism or a journey to a new way of thinking after being brainwashed for a series of years. So I thought I would make a similar series of videos showcasing my escape from Catholicism, because I was raised in a very fundamentalist version of that religion, and I was extremely fundy for a lot of years, and I think the process to get out of it was a process. It wasn't just one day I woke up. So I would like to highlight that. I'll make another series of videos, maybe at another date, regarding how I got into Catholicism. But, well, I was born into it, but I mean just the kinds of brainwashing techniques that occur to get you to live your life that way for so long. But my very first step of getting out of it, which was very, very interesting, because I was so fundy, you have to remember, the fundamentalism streak in me was all or nothing. I was a very black and white thinker. You were either Catholic or you weren't. There was no such thing as Sunday Catholic. I had no respect for people who went to church on Sundays and then lived their lives, you know, went on the birth control pill, or, you know, did the other things that good Catholics didn't do the rest of the week, and then just, you know, went to confession on Sunday or whatever. So I was always a very black and white thinker, and I was a very good Catholic. No word two ways about it. I mean, I would rack my brain on confession day to figure out my sins, because I really did abide by whatever the church taught me. It's not even the church. You gotta remember, Catholicism is not like Christianity. It's not about the Bible. It's about dogma. It's about dogma that the church declares. The church declares things to be sins versus the Bible, which is, I think, a big difference, because Christians usually are very biblically literal, and Catholics are not. Catholics listen to the Pope and what the Pope has to say about the curriculum vitae or whatever. That's the one, that was the document release that said basically women are garbage in the eyes of the church and have no right to make reproductive choices and so forth. So we would listen to those things, not so much the Bible. Anyway, one of the things that the Catholic Church is very big on is keeping holy the Sabbath, although that's the biblical version of it. You have to go to church on Sunday. As far as I can remember, this was not a choice. This was never a choice. You had to go to church on Sunday. You had to be basically dying not to go. And in all my life, up until I was about 17, I had never missed Mass. I missed it once when I was 15 in Arizona. I had gone on this air cadet exchange with like Civil Air Patrol in the US. And when I got there, I remember saying I need to go to church on Sunday, and they promised they would take me. We were at a military base in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And they forgot to take me. And by the end of the night, I was waiting. I was just a kid. I mean, I was 15 years old. I was waiting for someone to come get me to take me to church, and they forgot. And I was sobbing by the end of the day. And they sent me to see the chaplain. And I remember thinking, this guy's not Catholic. What am I talking to him for? He's nobody. Because that's our black and white thinking in Catholicism. I remember once my mother saying to me, I remember asking my mother, what's the difference between Christians and Catholics? Now, I may be getting this wrong. She swears up and down she didn't say it this way. But I vividly remember her saying something to the effect of, Catholics are going to heaven, Christians are going to hell. Pretty much. I mean, you had to be Catholic. That was the one and true only religion. So anyway, when I was 17, I worked in a movie theater, and I had to work a split shift often. It was the 1 to 3 in the afternoon, and then 6 to 10 at night for the evening shows. So there was one matinee in the afternoon and then 2 shows in the evening. And as a teenager, I would often sleep in till noon on a Sunday, and I would miss 11 o'clock Mass. But that was no big deal, because there were other Masses throughout the course of the day. So I remember one Sunday missing Mass and getting up at noon or whatever, and basically racing to get to the movie theater for my 1 o'clock shift. And I didn't get breakfast that morning. And I worked my shift, and I was starving by 3 o'clock. And in Catholicism, you have to fast 1 hour before communion. And I never saw the point of going to church if you weren't going to get communion, so I always fasted. Now, there was a church service at 4. There was a church service at 4 till 5. So I could have left my job at 3, raced, taken the bus, crossed town, gotten to church for 4, and I wouldn't have been able to eat in that time, remember. gone to Mass until 5, and then got on the bus back to downtown for 6 p.m. for my evening shift. And basically I would have had no opportunity to eat all day. And I always laugh because I've heard a comment that says, every civilization is 5 missed meals away from anarchy. And I believe that with all my heart, because of what happened during Hurricane Katrina. And I mean, you see it a lot. People deprive people of food, and within, usually they can go a day, but the next day by lunch hour, they're not doing too well. And sure enough, I had already missed breakfast. I had missed lunch, and I was about to miss supper. And I was starving. And my coworker, I remember his name was Tony Gallo, he said, he was working as manager that day, and he said, why don't you come out for dinner with me in between the shifts and I'll buy you supper? And I said, I can't, I have to go to church, I'm Catholic. And he goes, I'm Catholic too, I gotta eat, we gotta eat, we're hungry. And it was funny, because if you'd have told me that morning that my life was gonna change that afternoon, I wouldn't have believed you. But I don't know, I was very young, it was a long time ago, it would have been 1988, 89, somewhere in that range. And I couldn't stand the hunger. And I remember just deciding to skip Mass for the first time in my life, willingly choosing to skip Mass and go to have supper with Tony. And we came back for our evening shift on Lifeline. And I guess I must have gone home that night or that week, and I must have been considering what I'd done. And as I said, in my black and white thinking, there were only ever 2 types of Catholics, those that were Catholic and those that were not. And good Catholics went to church on Sundays. They didn't choose not to go. That wasn't an option. And I had chosen not to go, so that in my mind made me a bad Catholic. And a bad Catholic is as good as not being a Catholic. There was no gray area in my mind at all. Like, having had missed Mass, I didn't think there was any redemption from that at all. And it's funny because I could tell you stories about the kind of person I am and why I'm this way, and I'm sure a lot of it had to do with being raised in a cult. But I think another chunk of it had to do with being raised in an alcoholic family, where you have very strict rules for yourself. You're very hard on yourself. I am my own worst critic. I have very, very, very strong rules. Like, you can be a sinner, you can be forgiven. I cannot. It's not allowed in my brain. Like, that's, I don't make mistakes. And if I make mistakes, mistakes is a stupid word. It's a toss-off word. You have to, I did something wrong and I should pay for it. So I had missed Mass, and I had done so on purpose. And I guess in my brain, I just thought, well, I'm obviously not a good Catholic. I obviously fucked up bad, and there is no redemption from this. And I never went to church ever again after that. And I mean, I was a very devout Catholic, and I don't remember, again, it must have been a great period. I was only 17 years old, 18. I don't remember the details other than that was the last time I ever went to church. And it's not like I didn't believe. I still believed. I just believed I was a bad Catholic, therefore a bad person. And I guess I just pushed it to the back of my brain. In part 2, I will discuss the conversation that I had with my mother when I was 18 regarding reproductive choices that further cemented my belief that this church was kind of fucked up. And anyway, that's my story for this afternoon, and I'll continue with this series. I'll call it Escaping Catholicism.